All right, so we've already looked at my top 10 most played PS4 games ranked by hours played, and now let's do that for PS5 so far. And that's the big caveat asterisk on this one because obviously the console is still ongoing. The generation is just now getting to its midpoint, and I've already got a huge backlog on this system. Not to say I don't have one for PS4. There's so many games I'd like to play, but PS4 is probably not going to change nearly as much as this, where this will probably be outdated by tonight based on how much time I'll have to play, but still I thought it'd be fun to get a snapshot of, nearly 3 years into PS5 right now, what's my top 10, and we'll probably revisit this in a few years or maybe towards the end of PS5 if I remember, I don't know, but for now, here's my top 10, really top 12, because I've got two things in here that are a little bit strange, and you'll see why we're doing 12, but for now, number 12 in this case would be Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart at 29 hours. Now, given the direct capture, you can see all my other stuff, and so with these low numbers, you're already seeing the time delta. You're seeing the time delta versus the PS4 stuff where the bottom numbers for that were a lot higher, obviously, but considering this is bunched together with a lot of other things, Rift Apart at 29 hours, and then right next to it is Death's Door, so another PS5 title, but you'll see the lower number PS4 stuff in here as well. Rift Apart at 29 hours, I feel like that's quite high for that game, given that for a lot of people you can do the whole platinum in 20 to 25 hours, really depends on, how long you, if you take your time with the game or something, but it's such a beautiful, lovely 3D platformer. It's just a PlayStation staple, if you will. You can't go wrong with Rift Apart, a really fun game, and I find myself going back to it occasionally, if only because I'll either capture B-roll or I've got a new game plus that's maybe halfway done, and I actually played it 7 days ago because I'm using it again for another video, so it'll go up a little bit, but at 29 hours, this game is not going to stay very high for long. For my lower PS4 stuff, the 2015 Need for Speed, love that game. But Final Fantasy XVI at 30 hours, I am right in the middle of working on this game, and this is also where it kind of gets into, it'll take me a little bit for certain titles, just don't have as much time nowadays to play games, but I'm I say the middle, obviously it says 20% trophies, but I'm having a great time with the game so far. We're not here to review the game per se, but I will admit that it seems like I'll probably see it all the way through, even though it's I find that it's divisive for it being an atypical Final Fantasy in the gameplay department, but assuming you like the gameplay of like Devil May Cry or something, I mean, it's fast, snappy, responsive, so I'm really, really digging that aspect. Also the storyline where you've got the active time lore, which is such a Final Fantasy-ass feature that I find myself using all the time to just sort of really immerse myself in that world and what the plot line and the characters and everything they're trying to lay out. So I am loving it so far, and this game will surely creep up to the probably number 2 or 1 spot, quite frankly, if it does take as long as it probably will. But that one's gonna move. Next is Destiny PS4. Only played till the first light level or something, then put it down. I can't believe I put 31 hours into the order. That's nuts. But here is a weird one. Ghost of Tsushima, PlayStation 5, 32 hours with a platinum. I'm sure you all know what happened here, so I did a save file transfer. Now, did not do the Iki Island expansion or Legends. I'm not sure if I'll do that. That kind of goes into a bad habit of mine where, and I think a lot of people do this, but when content comes out for a game after the fact, you don't go back to finish it, which for this game, not really an excuse, because since this is the director's cut, I could have just sort of went right into Iki Island because that's when they launched all that new content, but I digress. The point is, this is split right down the middle. This is why Tsushima was not on the PS4 list. That and I still don't have the platinum for The Last of Us Part 2, so when that and Tsushima came out near the tail end of PS4, love both of those games and tried to play as much as I could back then, but PS5 was coming out, doing a lot of coverage for the system, then it did come out, doing videos on that, and so that's where I had to put those games down, and by the time the director's cut came out, and here's the thing, I'm not a stickler for like, oh, I have to double dip. I have to finish it on PS4, do the save file transfer, get the 2 platinums. I was like, whatever, I'll transfer the file over, start playing the better version. And honestly, that was a bad move, because out of all the sort of PS4, PS5 cross-gen games, Tsushima on PS5 is the most whatever PS5 game. There's just nothing there, really. Like, you could have easily just played the game through backwards compatibility, enjoyed the unlocked frame rate on PS5, then do the save file and get the 2 platinums. So it's a fantastic game, but I probably should have done that. It is, however, split down the middle. I've got 37 hours on PS4, 32 on PS5, so it should be like 70-something hours, and I will be going back to this game. And then City Skylines, we talked about that in the PS4 video. That's a little screwy with, well, at that point it's a region thing, not so much a generation thing. But next is Control on PlayStation 5. So this was, I played it first on PS5, 37 hours. That's all the content. So that is the Alan Wake stuff and the whatever the other piece of content is, I forget already. But yeah, this game, like, stuff like this really speaks to me, where they're not going like full-blown sci-fi. It's like sort of grounded in terms of like real people, and there's like this, you know, but there's a very clear supernatural element to it, not only in terms of like the plot line, where like, and just off that alone, like that Control is super cool, how it's inspired by the SCP Foundation. So you've got all these objects of power that have these weird, sort of chaotic and very dangerous aspects of them. That kind of stuff is so kooky, and I'm into that stuff. But it's the gameplay element of it which really speaks to me. It kind of goes back to like, I don't know, something like BioShock, where it's a lot of experimentation when you can have this sort of these fun gameplay mechanics that let you either like levitate, or you can levitate other objects and throw them at people, or just kind of get a little nutty with how you can take out the enemies in the game. So that's Control. So had a great time with that game. It's also not that long. Like, I feel like it's like the perfect length where it doesn't overstay its welcome, especially if you do just the base content and not the DLC. So it's not exactly 37 hours either, which, bear in mind, I was doing the full platinum, obviously. So you can spend less time with the game, but cannot wait for the sequel on that. Then you've got Tsushima on PS4, so like I said, 37 hours. Deathloop, PlayStation 5, 39 hours. They put out some free content, I think, and that's why I don't have 100% anymore. But I love this game too. I mean, this one sucks too, because like this game got a lot of heat for, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was like, when this kind of goes into like the pre-release cycle for the game, where it was showing up at every single state of play, PlayStation Showcase, also Bethesda was showing it off. And so I think for a lot of fans that were just keeping up with like, PS5 as a console, they were tired of seeing this game, especially because Bethesda had a tough time explaining how it works with the time loop, and how do you break the loop, and what does that mean for the plot line, and the moment-to-moment gameplay. And it is kind of hard to explain, but when you're in it, I think it works really well. It's fun. It also goes into the supernatural aspect. It's got some, BioShock-like mechanics, right? But it's Arcane. I mean, it's more of an Arcane game than what BioShock was doing. But the comparables are there, obviously. Yeah, I just feel like the game got a lot of heat, especially because it also got some great reviews, and people were like, "Oh, it's not all that." I think it was all that. Had a great time with Deathloop. That's a big recommend for me. And then we've got Resogun on PS4, Spyro Reignited Trilogy. I just destroyed that when it came out. Those games are so good. Love the original trilogy. There's Last of Us Part 2. Got to go back to that. Here's the other weird one, and that's why we're doing 12. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Now, this was my first time playing it on console. Wanted to wait for the trophy list, so got it on PS5. And hey, obviously, now I see it. Like, I get the context of why it was sort of a viral sensation. Funny with its premise and the dialogue, and it's just something where very much, if you don't know anything about it, don't look it up and just play it for yourself. Go in as blind as possible. But having said that, the trophy list is also a little bit weird as well. So there's one in there for simply playing the game for 24 hours straight. And you're not going to really do that, obviously. So this is bloated. It says 41 hours played. I had to let it sit for 24 hours. And even that's a bit bloated, because I did try it one time and I don't remember what happened exactly. I think I lost power or something, or maybe I had to turn the console off. I really don't remember exactly what happened, but I tried to do it one time by letting it sit, and that didn't work out. So then I had to do it again, and that's where I got the most of the trophies. There's another one in here for not playing the game for 10 years, which you can just auto unlock from messing with clock settings. But you know what? I'm going to do it the tried and true way, so that's why it's 90. But yeah, that's why I feel like that the game is not really in my top 10, because the game sat without me playing it for 24 hours. But after that, we have Legacy of the Duelist. 42 hours, I can't believe that's how much I played on that. Bioshock games, love those. Grand Theft Auto games, love those. Next PlayStation 5 title is Marvel's Spider-Man on PlayStation 5. So yeah, I didn't have a lot of time on the PS4 version. I played that on a separate account. And I figured, okay, the remaster is a really solid remaster. Insomniac are, just wizards, especially with PlayStation 5 hardware, it seems, because this game is gorgeous on PlayStation 5. Plays well, and yeah, I mean, I think Spider-Man speaks for itself. It's such a big IP. I think everyone knows this game. And I did thankfully do all the DLC for this one in particular as well. So yeah, that was a very fast 53 hours. Had a great time with that. Right next to it is San Andreas, my favorite Grand Theft Auto. I will always vouch for that being the best one. Final Fantasy VII, just the straight up, principally the original game ported to PS4. Minecraft, my god, that's with me doing, I think, the first 4 or 5 content packs, and now it's down to like 37%, and I think it has to now it has another trophy list on it as well. Cuphead on PS4, love that game. Same with Little Big Planet 3 and more Bioshock. Demon's Souls is the next one on PlayStation 5, 65 hours. Now, this is actually something where the time tracker on the console is more accurate than the in-game clock, because Demon's Souls tracks your time even when you have the game suspended. So, and the console will only track if the game is actively running. So, and you're not on the PS5's UI screen. So, but yeah, 65 hours. It's the most approachable Souls game. And also, I mean, this was such a great day one title. Principally, it's a PlayStation 3 remake, obviously, right? So, for a lot of people, it was sort of a write-off of oh, it's a remake or whatever. But I don't know, between Rift Apart, Demon's Souls, and now there's a few other games that we've finally gotten. But this kind of, I feel like it goes into the whole oh, next gen doesn't feel next gen thing. I don't know. I've always felt like that's just kind of a lame remark. Not only do we have all these amazing quality of life improvements, but day one, I thought Demon's Souls, this game looks nutty, gorgeous looking game. It looks ridiculous. It's still better looking than Elden Ring, I find, in a lot of cases. Not in the sort of art style department, right? Just if we're talking pure visual fidelity, which a lot of people, they associate that with what feels next gen or not. I feel like Demon's Souls is a looker. So as long as you like the game, that's a great one to play. And it is the most approachable Souls game if you have not played Souls stuff just yet. Not nearly as hard as some make it out to be. God of War, PS4, and then Ragnarok. Yeah, don't have the platinum yet on this one. So what happened with this is this was right near my move, because it came out in November, obviously, and that's right next to Pokemon too. I'm a huge Pokemon fan, so it was tough for me to play that Pokemon, and then I was getting ready to move, and at that point I had to put the game down. I did finish it. It's more a matter of just cleaning up the trophies. And so what I'm missing here is, and this is not really a spoiler unless you're really into your Norse mythology and you know this off the top of your head, but I have to beat King Hrolf and also do that last Valkyrie. So, and that's funny too, because I had gotten to him and played him. I tried it 2-3 times just for fun. This was right when I was about to move, so most of my stuff was already packed up and everything, and yeah, he was serving my ass back to me on a silver platter, so that would be putting it lightly. So that means I get to go back to the game at some point on one of the hardest parts where I'm going to be all rusty, so that's fun. But at least it's cool seeing it right next to the 2018 God of War. Now, Next would be Hades at 79 hours on PS5, a very fast 79 hours because this game is so good. And I think, you know, for a lot of people, if they hear about this game, it's always something along the lines of, you need to play this game, it's a great roguelite, even if you don't like them, even if it's your first one, you got to play this one. And that recommendation always comes up because it is... Not only, obviously it's a great game, but it walks the tightrope perfectly of what makes a roguelite work in the first place, which is the runs are on the shorter side. Like a full run is maybe 20-something minutes, and that's a full run, so you're not going to, you know, do that your first go, of course. So when you're dying the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it, you know, feeds into that one more run mentality. But it works out beautifully when you've got this permanent unlock system that is not something you can brute force. You can't just keep doing runs over and over to buy stuff, and that's going to brute force your way through the game. But it gives you just enough stuff to apply it alongside your natural progression of learning the game better, and, you know, just getting better at the enemy encounters in the next room, and you know, getting accustomed to, you know, working out certain builds that you want to focus on throughout the game. And the game does feed into the build that you want to work on when you sort of decide that early on, right? So it just... Everything about what makes a roguelite works, Hades does, and that's why the game is so great, and that's why it was also a very fast 79 hours. Another recommend for me. Next is Forbidden West Horizon, 85 hours, and yes, I gotta go back to that Burning Shores DLC. I want to try and get to it in like the next maybe 3 or so weeks, depends on when I can finish Final Fantasy XVI, and also there's a few other things coming out, so like I said, there's so much stuff. But I'm a huge advocate for this franchise. I love it. It's really great, and I feel like I've said a lot about this game throughout Let's Talk PlayStation, but because I also feel like there was a lot of unwarranted criticism being thrown at Forbidden West around when it came out, and even to this day it kind of comes up as it being like, I don't know, people like to just sort of downplay the importance of it or how good it is, or I don't really get it. I think it's a fantastic game that fires on many cylinders. So having said that, 85 hours, and that is going to climb up when I finally get to the Burning Shores. And then we are at my number one on PlayStation 5. Doesn't break 100 hours, but Returnal, my favorite PlayStation 5 game that I have not shied away from saying over and over again. My Platinum finished off at, and I remember this quite well, it was like 60-something hours, 67 hours. So since then, did a little bit more for the Ascension update with the Tower of Sisyphus, and also the co-op. I did a few co-op runs with my buddy who I had told him, hey, you should check out this game, and he was not really, like, really, not that he didn't like it, but he was like, I just can't really figure this game out, and I'm like, well, let's do a co-op run, right? And it turns out the game is really well suited for co-op, but between that and the Tower update, it, like co-op works really well. And the game was just begging for some kind of endless running mode, so I really got to go back to the tower and do another run on that, because the leaderboard got reset, and I have not set a new score on that, because the first one I did, I got pretty far. And I just love the very arcadey aspect of Housemarque games and the bullet hell action. But I know I've talked about Returnal on so many videos, so I don't want to have to beat a dead horse on that one, but I will end it off by saying, play Returnal. I think you'll like that one as well. Although I will admit, when it comes to roguelites, Returnal I don't think walks the balance that Hades does quite as well. But still, Returnal, favorite PS5 game so far. And that's it. That's the top 10, 12 technically for PlayStation 5 so far. Yeah, it's going to change. I feel like Final Fantasy XVI is for sure going to either be number one or close to it. And yeah, like I got to get to Elden Ring. Like I only played a few hours of that, which sucks, because like that is totally something I can get lost in, like everybody else, obviously. There's a handful of other titles, but I also tend to gravitate towards slower stuff nowadays, just so that way it feels like I'm actually getting things done when I finish a game in 20-something hours. But yeah, the backlog is growing, and it will be interesting to see what this list looks like in a few years from now, because I feel like these titles, Most of these might not be in here, or they'll definitely be teetering on the edge of like being on the bottom or getting knocked out of the top 10. But that's it. And like the PS4 one, definitely share. It was fun reading all those comments. I want to hear what you've all been playing, and yeah, another little sharing situation going on. But yeah, thank you so much for watching and talking with me, and I'll see you all in the next video. You take it easy.